Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. This is Julie with WWIII Freedom. Today is September 11th. This is the day I receive the Rhema, and remembrance goes out to those who lost family or someone you know on that day in America. I know I'm from Texas, but I interviewed a guy, a New York firefighter who was there shortly after that, so I saw his facial expressions and how he spoke, and yeah, it really humbled me, I would say. Topics today, there's a little bit about World War V, World War III, your perceptions of how it's begun, and a lot of the Lord defending me, so I know, based on what he said, that there's a lot of you that are ready to unsubscribe from the channel, and I just keep thinking about this story in the New Testament where Jesus basically said, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can't be my disciple. And then, almost everybody left. And I was like, okay, Lord, you doing that for me too? I really don't mind. I don't care. You do it the way you want, Lord. Anyways, he is defending me again. So for some of you who are more higher up in your spirituality in a way and you don't really see how this is all going to work out, I'm not very good at defending my own A word, so I'm going to let him do it. He's given me green light go status to add more commentary, so I will, from now on, we'll just keep the timestamps going, and then I will sometimes insert the commentary. And then also, as far as the headset problem goes, thank you, Austin, for pointing it out. I don't really understand. When I use the headset, the volume is super high, and as you say, sometimes I use the mic and I've got it really close to my mouth, but the volume is super low. So, and there's a little button I click on my program to try to fix it and nothing happens. So I was like, this will require some research, and I basically view it as a very large research project that I have to take on to figure out how to edit something in one of these programs. So, yes, greeting to Glenda Lomax if you're listening. I also definitely have to struggle my way through this technology stuff as well, and good to see your face back online if you happen to hear this. I would love to have a beautiful backdrop and all those things some people have, but anyway, maybe someday. So I will just simply start with the message. And yeah, as far as the technical problems go, I will just use my headset for now until I figure it out. He was talking about my relationships in life and how, because of my self-sabotage, killing those relationships in some ways, and they all died. So he says, so they all died, and so will all humanity and soon, dear ones. For what does my word actually say on that score, dear ones? Only the elites survive? Yeah, dudes. Ain't no survival strategy about it, sons. They will make it past the mark, fast into their own coveted territory at one point of, and we are the ones who will repopulate the planet, B-words. Yeah, dudes, don't know about that part. Babies being born to these jokers. In the midst of World War V, folks. Yeah, dudes. So the wars truly are gonna be ramping up on everyone's A-words. And yeah, dudes, dogs. So what? She forgot. Didn't quite obey my instructions on fast all matters in her life, dear ones, till just now. Just now, dear ones. Boy howdy and V, babes. If this little sweet gal ain't repenting on my A-word daily of, please, Lord, I'm so sorry, Lord. I didn't follow your instructions to the T on that one. Yeah, so side note, the reason I was supposed to do the photos last time was because I was supposed to show y'all how he gives me 2 sentences at one time and it's hard for me to choose. I didn't realize I could choose in the past, and I wanted to be faithful to his word, so I just shared everything and it sounds like I'm stuttering or something. But he gave me permission from now on to circle the word I want. So for example, dudes or dogs, I can just say which one I want from now on. And I didn't quite follow his instructions because I didn't tell y'all exactly why I showed the photos. And I just got through reading the story of Saul pretending to sacrifice the animals he should have slaughtered in their towns. and I may have received insight from the Holy Spirit. Those animals he was supposed to slaughter, they were in some dirty towns, and so they were abominations to the Lord, basically, and who knows, maybe they were genetically modified or like extra large animals that shouldn't have been so large, stuff like that. They were supposed to be slaughtered in the dirty towns, not taken to the Lord's holy altar and sacrificed. So God didn't want that stuff on his altar. He doesn't want abominations on the altar, or like the strange fire or strange smoke. So anyway, that story has been on my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like Saul. I didn't follow the Lord's instructions to the T, and I realized it this weekend. So anyways, I'm correcting that today, and we'll show y'all a couple photos of what I'm talking about, and we'll just be trying to go smoother through the Rhema and just picking out the phrases that work the best in my view. And if you're actually really curious about a phrase or a sentence and you want to know more, you can obviously ask a question in the comments, as Diana did in the past. Greetings to you, Diana. You have a small word today. Back to the message. Weiter geht's, sweethearts. Are you my sweethearts for reals deals like her? Or have you rather made an unfortunate as hell deal with the devil gone a little bit sour by now, hasn't it, dear one? So it has. And will you, babe, be able to be my babe of the hour and pick up all the little pieces of, yeah, dear ones, so I speak of animal parts and babies too. But what of your heart, dear ones? Do you want me to put those pieces back together too? I can, dear ones, do it, that is, if you just... What would I have to do in this hour to appease both sides and give myself a little breathing space of, breathe, dear ones, slow and fast, all at the same time in this moment of, protected, dear ones, when we, sweethearts, even if you're not one quite yet, okay, not at all, and we all here in this room know it, but will I do, dear one, offer you protection in this hearing the Rhema hour, for is she? She is, dear ones, already quite familiar with how powerfully my spirit in her works at times too. Yeah, dogs, so I speak of light blasting into the darkness. And will she? She will, dear ones. Quote that part of the Psalms she just can't quite get enough of and get over it, my so-called Christians of the hour. Shocked as all get out. She'd call me a dragon. For who, dear ones, kills that old snake in the end? Okay, calm down, my dark ones listening. I know he doesn't die right away, but could I? I could, dear ones, blast that old dragon into smithereens if I so choose to do so. And do I not? I do, dear ones, love her dearly. For her. Okay, Lord, I'm not putting you in a silly, can't do this because you're God, and I think being God of the universe means... Yeah, dudes, think lots of options open in her crazy, brainy brains. Brainwaves at times of, whops, dear ones, I am that I am for sure has given her whops when she takes it too far of, okay, Lord, since I have no man, do you think you could just stroke my arms tonight? Yeah, my Satanist listening, so she wants to take it a little too far on my A-word, if you know what I mean. And do I hate her for these lonely as hell longings from the only effing person in the world who... Ain't no person about it, folks. And is she? She still is, dudes, lonely as they come. But not reserved for the coming in you, dear ones. Okay, we got it a little bit twisted, my guys and gals of the hour. Why all the raunchy, you pasty pastor? Well, dude, think for 1 second for me, son, who we've got listening on this Channy channel. And I'm not, son, so much focused on the Christy Christians all the time. Who, trinkets, babes, and you know it. All that stuff and fluff, how World War III is going to start. Look at it again, dear ones. Yes, babes, I mean how World War II actually got started. For was it not? It was, dear ones, a slow roll into... Yeah, babes, think the Austrians shamefacedly embracing all that Hitler demanded of them. And would they? They are willing, dear ones, to get screwed over by Putin and Russia on a gas deal gone bad, all just so that they can... Yeah, dear ones, so I speak of preserving their cops. And you, dear ones. Yes, side note, it's on the news. It was recently that Austria made a deal with Russia till 2040 for our gas. So we're kind of stuck in that one. Sounds like it. Back to the message. What are you willing to die for, my sake of? Would you, dear ones, be willing to die to yourself daily? Okay, maybe not daily, but how about it, dear ones, turning over your inner life to me when she... Yeah, dear ones, so I speak of her popping up onto your screens. And is it a big deal to her? Well, let I give it to you straight, sis. Nah, not really, babe, or could be someday, but I digress. For what with a possible potential murder state scenario under her breath of, yeah, dog, so she really doesn't give a F anymore of, yeah, Lord, just whittle this channel down to 5 people who actually care what you have to say. Okay, dogs, let's kill it by not being horny dogs to one another in this late humanity hour. Fast, count 'em almost none time, folks, to get your shizes together on this one, dear ones. And her, dear ones, does she finally have all her shizes together? Yeah, dogs. She pretty much well does, folks, hence her ability to. No need to talk about sex just yet from her side, folks, but once she's happily and healthy, legally married to that Boaz, folks, I reminds you, dear ones, listening, tempted to unsubscribe, turn off her sorry A-word for this. Legal, folks, it'll all be legal, but for now, well, let I am that I am. Ask you, judgy, at times pastors listening today, is it legal for a single, horny as hell, ain't no horny about it, folks, he is for sure drawn to her sweet mama heart. And can a young man chat up a lonely little, in need of some big convos, stimulation for sure at times of... For sure, dear ones, it's for sure legal for a man to chat up a woman, married or no, as fast all of the pastors who know her in real life have done by now, and will they be hiding in a side room to hide the real convent of their nun-like, holy as F convos, if you'll but just listen to them for a second, my judgy pastor, ready to explode on her A-word of, relax, dude, for real, relax, chillax, bruh, and let's just see how it'll all play out on our A-words of, love him, dude. Yeah, son, so I mean your brother-in-law. Love him well and support him through a very difficult for him too, unsettling as hell. What will the Lord do to us for this talkin'? Nothing, dear ones, for sure nothing. For again, dear ones, they will not be in error in this gray area time in my view. But you, dear ones, let's for sure not move into the gray area on my A-word and time, dear ones. Let's give it all a little more time to watch, wait, and see, dear ones, if you all can wait for the silly as hell, stupid more like it, Huns, the way he comes across to the online listening worldwide audiences of... Okay, he's talking about Trump right here. Yeah, babes, where the F is that so-called economic revival he's been speaking of? And some of you actually still hold on to, release it, dear ones, that silly hope of him you have in me, dear ones. Your hope should for sure be in me, dear ones, as hers is, dear ones. Or is she placing it all in that Boaz? More like not at all, dear ones. And did he? He did, dear ones, give her a very cute but very fake, and she knew it deep down. He's talking about a smile. Boy, howdy, did she know it, dog? Has no hope whatsoever in this man that he will. Yeah, dudes, so leave it all to me, dear ones. And yeah, just to finish my terrible, sordid to some of you listening, but is it sordid at all? Yeah, dogs, not at all, folks, not at all. And if you can wait for his dumb A for all these years to get his shiza together, and he won't, dear ones, I am sadly whispers to your souls deep down today, and you know it's true, my dear Diana. Yes, a lady and princess in many ways. But do you think, sweetheart, you could let go of your idolization of that man, and I use the term lightly today, for me, hon? Yeah, babe, I don't know about all those protests you're bringing up in your heart at this moment. Here he winked. And yet I do know it, hun. Put the Trump guns down, dear one, and trust in me, babe. Listen to me, hun. Huns, he's no good to you, dear ones, listening to me online today. Some of you fuming your fury to hear this, dear ones. But well, let I give it to you straight, dear ones. You've all known, sniff the truth on her A-word of... There's a real reason, dear ones, many of my true in the spiritual realm like her, prophets, don't trumpet the Trump card. And you, dear ones, you think you'll just dump her for it? Think again, dear ones, of the sordid, super long in coming, his promises for this nation of... Yeah, babes, think timeline in the worstest, longest... Ain't gonna happen, folks, on my A-word today. And her, dear ones, will her prophecies actually be fulfilled in a timely manner, dear ones? They actually will, babes, they will. So chillax for me, bruh. Yeah, Tom, I'm speaking to you today, son. For does she understand your dear... Here he mentioned his real name. Yeah, dude, not so much. Really, not so much. But you, son, can for sure be a helpful support to him in this hour of... Don't, son. Yeah, dude, so I speak of crushing his spirit. For is there hope, dudes? My dudesters of the hour. There is, dear ones, there is. But it ain't coming through Trump or any worldly as hell by now. All of them, dear ones, and you know it. Me, babes, it's coming through me, as I will blast my way through her story of... Wait for it, dear ones. Yeah, hun, so I speak of the blasting her to bits part. For is it, dear ones? No, dear ones, it's not quite time to write her off just yet, much as that potential Boaz is thinking, dear ones. Much as he thinks of her, sorry to still be married to that joker at this time, A-word. Yeah, dear ones, it's bad. And she's getting judgment from all sides, in all the wrong ways of... A rock in a hard place, dear ones, it's where she finds herself in this hour, dear pastor, of... Yeah, son, think abusive to the max. Clinging to her, finally, truly hates his A-word, but will he admit it to himself, and just leave her be, and let her go peacefully into the arms, convos of another man? Again, dear ones, ain't no arms about it. And yes, dear one, she longs for my touch in her life more than his. Yes, babe, you can tell them the tingly parts of your hair story if you want, babe, but the demons, dear ones, can pull off the same tricks of... Okay, side note. So a lady at our church told the story how she was really sad one day, and she laid her head on her piano, and she was lonely, and she couldn't play the piano, and that's why she was so sad. And she had gone to college and was missing her family. And she laid her head on the piano in her apartment, and she asked God... I don't know if she asked God to stroke her hair, but she told him she was lonely or something, and she said she felt the Lord stroking her hair, and I was like, I'm gonna try that too. So I did. I prayed, asked God to stroke my hair. I prayed it silently so the demons wouldn't hear that night, and yeah, it was like tingling sensation. It freaked me really out, really bad. So I prayed. I just rebuked anything demonic, and then it kept going. So I was like, okay, it must be the Lord. And then I asked him once to like stroke my arms, and he did a little bit, but he didn't want to do it too much. So anyway, some people are just happy like just imagining Jesus in the chair next to them, but I feel like I need a million hugs sometimes. So anyway, but the Lord says someday I will relax in that way. Yeah, so if you pray out loud, the demons might actually try it themselves and do it for you. So that's why he said be careful with that. And that is why I pray silently sometimes. Especially for decisions. If I have a big decision to make, I pray silently like 2 or 3 times before I say anything out loud. Back to the message. Careful, dear ones, watching others' tricks and believing them at times of, but he seems like such a good hubby to her. Ain't no hubby about it by now. Love you all, dear ones. Love you all for reals. If you'll but just be the reals deals to me and break those contracts, dear one, with him deep down. Yeah, so I mean the terrible hubby of your souls. For is he is, dear ones, terribly abusive in the same sleuth mode, dear ones, as you slip your heart out of his grasp and into... Love you, dear ones, a big one. Here he blew a kiss. Ciao, ciao, babes and babesters of the hour. Silly dudesters. Y'all are included too, of course. My manly men of the hour. Get ready to see her... She will, dudes, be loath to pop back up on the screen until she... And here he was referencing me getting the mic situation fixed. Perfect, dear ones. She loves to have things perfect, too, and hates watching her own life, so-called, fall apart before others of obedience, dear ones. She's actually been perfectly obedient to me through all this, and share it with them, hun. Yeah, so actually, as I said, I've been going through 1st and 2nd Samuel, and... I was going over the part where Saul justified his own sacrificing of those animals, which honestly, I've been thinking, I don't even know if he meant to sacrifice them, but he got caught. Like Samuel showed up and was like, Saul was like, look what I did. And then he's like, what is this bleeding in my ears, you know? And then Saul was like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice those animals. But just thinking about it, I was wondering if he really even... originally planned to sacrifice them at all and wanted to keep them because it seems like to us it seems like really not a big deal, like it's just some cows, but you know, back in those days, like sheep and cows and all that was like super important. Like that was their whole world if they were not in one of the big cities. And their big cities back then were like super tiny. Y'all know that. Anyway, so I did my own version of when Saul did that, he was being rebellious, and rebellion has to do with control, and that's why witchcraft is, considered an abomination to the Lord. It has to do with the control that like a witch or a warlock wants over someone else's life. Basically, please don't be offended if you are one listening today. This part is mostly for Christians anyway. But I was like thinking about that, and it was beautiful the way the Holy Spirit just took over Samuel's mouth in that moment, and he prophesied against Saul, and he basically let him know why it was a big deal and why it was wrong. Anyway, I was just thinking how, like, to many people that's like not a big deal that he didn't kill a few cows, but to the Lord it was a huge deal, and it all went back to obedience. And so I wrote my own version of those verses, and it has to do with my own situation. Okay, so I guess it's time to finally share this part of the story. I prayed to God in December 2021 for a divorce from Max, and God said no. And I prayed silently, as I've said before. And then I prayed again in February, and again God said no. Except I changed my prayer slightly. I was like, Lord, can I just file the paperwork silently? And he was like, no. That's like the same thing, right? And that was the time that I almost fell. And that was where that was inspired. I was tempted to be rebellious to the Lord at that time because I did not understand him at all. But anyways, so that has inspired these verses. It says, "Has the Lord as great a delight in seeing me set free from this marriage as in obedience to the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than to get your A-word out of there, kick him out. And to listen is better than the signed divorce papers and the sound of gossip in your ears. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and disobedience is as serious as false religion and idolatry. If I reject the word of the Lord, he will reject me as prophetess." And that is a redo of 1 Samuel 15, 22 through 23. All right, we're going to move on a little bit further down, the same psalm, and the same one where he's a dragon, in my view, but maybe not yours. After it says, "To the kind he shows himself kind," this is the next part. "For you save an afflicted and humble people. You bring down those with haughty eyes. For you cause my lamp to be lighted and to shine. The Lord my God illumines my darkness. For by you I can crush a troop, and by my God I can leap over a wall." God bless.